Hello, and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today, I have another anti wellness wankery. So, you know that this is not just me on the podcast today, and we have another wanky dank joining us, joining us from Scotland, Ireland, England, Wales. And today's topic is
Definitely England, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's the one. But today's topic is obviously very pertinent to I guess starting the year off on the right foot, and you're listening to this, it's February. You had 4, 5, 6 weeks already to get a taste of your habits, perhaps see which ones are working or not working, or at least that's what we would hope. Because a lot of the time, when we fail, when we struggle, it's not seen through a lens of let's see what works, let's see what doesn't work, let's see what serves me, or even just giving it waiting time because you're not going to master something off the bat. You're not going to master all your habits off the bat. And something that too many people do is they set too many habits, they get overwhelmed, and then kaput. And one of my girls said to me today, she commented on one of my posts saying, am I sabotaging myself by not focusing so much on lifting weights, just getting my steps in? And I'm like, no, the thing here is that you have a one on one coach. And that means that anything that you're doing is tailored to you and you can move forward. And for your specific situation, just focusing on steps is plenty because the majority of people get 3,000 steps a day. Not only is that terrible for health, terrible for longevity, terrible for your metabolism in itself, everything, but like that in itself for a female, especially for a small female, for a short female, for anyone wanting to see changes in their body. In how about in just today's society where there's food everywhere in a hedonic environment, just bringing your steps up gives you more buffer room for calories as a starters. It is a form of exercise. No, walking and steps are not cardio. It annoys me when people say that steps are cardio. No, they're not. Walking is not cardio, but it is exercise. It is fitness. And it is one of the best things you can do for your health, one of your best things you can do for your mental health, for everything. So, what we got her doing is literally just focusing on steps. I don't care if she doesn't hit the gym that week, just steps. For someone who has never had a long streak of getting at least 8,000 steps, getting her up to 8,000 consistently every single day is a huge habit. And we're also tacking on the vegetables and the water because they're things that we've already established before. We're not focusing on three new things at once because this is what we're leading into. If the veggies and the water is also a new thing and she was struggling with that before and she's struggling with the steps and we try to introduce three new habits, if one of those fail, you're going to feel like you failed, or you're going to feel like there's too many different things to manage. Like maybe you would be able to do all those three. Maybe you'd be okay with let's try to focus on three and you don't care if one of them falls off and one of them doesn't. It's just trying to have less crosses on the board, more ticks on the board. There are different ways of approaching this, but where people go wrong is in setting too many expectations and then getting down on themselves. I have two different themes within the same theme for my habits as an example before I let Tom go off on his spiel. But I have two different themes within one of mine. My biggest theme is focus on one thing at a time. And then I have different things under there. And there are some habits that I haven't even circled a bubble on yet. But there are other habits where I haven't missed a streak in the last 8 days because we're recording this on the 8th of January. And I'm going to keep that streak going. But this is going to be why smart goals are dumb goals. They're not smart, they're dumb. And with the way that I set my goals and habits. See, this is the thing, like you shouldn't exactly be calling them goals. They should be habits that you're setting because it's the habits that lead to the goals. You should know what your vision is in the end, but you're not setting goals to hit each month, each week, whatever it is, because being goal focused, being outcome focused doesn't get you the outcome. You haven't established the steps that leads there. Who do you have to be? What does that person do every day? What habits do they not do? What do they say no to? What won't they accept in their life? Those are very, very key to you moving forward. If you don't know who you need to be to get to where you want to be and what that person does every day, what that person doesn't do, you're not going to get there. And you don't need to know right now. You're figuring it out along the way. And this is why failure is necessary. You should be keen to fail because you're figuring out what doesn't work. You might need to fail at the same thing a few times because maybe if you failed it the first time, it's just because of a different factor, which is why I share my failed squats all the time. It's not that doing the squat was wrong. It's that there were other factors playing in, maybe a lack of self-belief. Maybe I dumped it too fast. Maybe I leaned forward too fast or too far. Like there are other factors aside from the fact that maybe I shouldn't be squatting, I should be deadlifting. No, because I should be squatting because it's squats. So there are different factors that play into it. You need to figure out what yours is, but you can't do that if number one, you have unrealistic expectations. Number two, you have impatience. And number three, you have too many habits to juggle that you're leaving no room to even succeed. But as I was saying, one key factor for me in trying to get success in a habit that I'm eager to keep every single day, and I want to say I've ticked this off every single day, no exception, is reading my book. I know that I would ideally want to read 10% a day or 1 hour a day. Days like today, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do, but I can say that I can tick it off because I read 2% already. I made sure I read 2% before my podcast. Now, what I'm trying to say is what's your minimum effective dose? I have this Team Ruby template that I use with the girls, which is what's your orange light? Your red light is what you're not going to be happy with. For example, if it's related to food, I ate the whole Tim Tam pack and I feel like shit. That's red. Probably what's ideal for you is I ate two Tim Tams and I'm happy with that. Maybe that's your green. What's your orange? I had two. I accidentally slipped another two. But you're not going to beat yourself up about it because you didn't eat the whole packet, which is what the red bar is. So know what your ideal is, know what okay is, and then know what you want to avoid. Because if you can at least stop yourself at the orange, that is a step forward. So know your minimum effective dose. My minimum effective is 2%. I got that, and I am adamant to try to get a little bit more before I go to bed tonight because it's really freaking late. Now, why are SMART goals in fact dumb?
First, what is a Tim Tam? I've often wanted to ask an Australian person that.
A Tim Tam is absolutely overrated, and I reckon they're absolutely disgusting, to be honest. I used to like them dipped into... Actually, no, I didn't. That was Scotch fingers. You do know what Scotch fingers are, don't you?
Maybe.
Okay, sorry, I forget. Arnott's is Australian. So Scotch fingers are probably the most unhealthy thing you can have, and I used to go through half a packet of them dipped in milk, and it's
they're just, it's like shortbread.
It's just shortbread. It's full of butter, full of saturated fat, and all artery clogging yumminess. But I don't enjoy them anymore. They taste like, I don't know, they taste... Well, one is good, but after one, it just tastes like you're eating butter. And I think that's just because I don't eat butter and I don't eat very oily things. So I really taste the proteiness. But this goes back to you can change your taste buds. You just need to adapt to it. This is the healthy habits thing. You just need to force yourself in that discomfort for long enough that the alternative starts to feel a little bit more disconnected and foreign from you. Funny how we make all these connections, but a Tim Tam, I reckon Oreos are so much better than Tim Tams just because the biscuit of the Oreo is nice. I just don't really like the cream inside it because the cream is just, it ruins it. And I think that's why I don't really like the cream inside the Tim Tams. But I don't know. I reckon they're just overrated. See, Milo, if there was like a Milo biscuit, that would be nice because Milo actually has a nice flavor.
What the fuck is Milo? What is that?
Okay, so Milo is like chocolate malt flavored powder.
Oh, okay, I can get down with that. You put it in milk, I guess.
Yeah, you can do that too.
That sounds pretty.
It's like a Milo flavored protein anything was one of my favorite things ever. After I used to also just put the Milo into a spoon and I used to eat that because I don't think Milo in milk tastes nice. I reckon Milo on a spoon, just dry scooped, kind of like that works. But you know, we can
dry scoop in Milo. Right. Anyway,
so workout. So why is SMART goals dumb? And I hope you guys actually remember that last little bit that I said in the fact that you can change your habits. You just need to get more disconnected from it, which leads into why are SMART goals dumb.
So SMART goals, if you're not fully up with what we're talking about, a SMART goal is a goal It's the framework for goal setting that people are told to use in any like 1 day workshop that you'll do that talks about goal setting. You'll see this in every single corporate presentation. You'll see this in every level 3 personal training qualification. This is how you set goals. You use SMART goals. So what you do is you take a phrase, which it might be like, I want to lose weight, and you turn that into something that is specific. So rather than lose weight, what do you want to lose? Do you want to lose kilos? Do you want to lose inches off your waist? Do you want to use dress sizes? Like, what is it that you actually want to change? And then you make it measurable. So it's like, all right, so how many kilos, inches, whatever do you want to lose? Then you need to make sure that it's achievable. You need to make sure it's relevant to broader life goals, and you need to make it time bound so that there's a deadline. So I want to lose weight might turn into I want to drop 2 dress sizes before my wedding next year, something like that. The big issue with that is, in my opinion, the fact that it necessarily focuses on outcomes. And as Ruby said, like, you ain't in control of your outcomes. The only thing that you can control is the shit that you do. And even then, I would argue that you can't even really control that in the way that people think you can. I think what you can do is you can control the effort that you put into engaging in certain behaviors, and the world around you will affect your ability to do that. For instance, just to give like a really extreme example, in case people don't know what I mean, if it is the case that you miss the gym because your child is in a car accident and ends up mortally wounded and they have to go to hospital for 3 weeks, I wouldn't argue, therefore, that that is your fault. And I would argue that it was not in your control to do the sessions during that time because life conspired against you. And other things will happen similarly. I had a client who, on the 19th of December, had a project dropped on her desk that needed to be done by the 19th of January. And it basically meant that other than Christmas Day, she's worked around the clock. She hasn't trained since the 19th because there's physically no time. Now, if we'd set an outcome goal, or if we decided, right, well, you are in control of your actions, you get to decide what you do, but she's spending 18 hours a day at her desk, like, are you though? So all you can control is effort. So the issue that I've got with SMART goals is it necessarily sets people up for this like failure thing. Because if you say that you're going to lose 2 dress sizes before your wedding, and then in the middle something drastic happens, well, you just sack your goal off now because you can't do it anymore. So it's like, oh well, I was going to lose 2 dress sizes by then, but then whatever, and I haven't been able to train, and food's been really difficult to manage, and now I've got 2 weeks till my wedding, and it hasn't worked out. So it sets you up to fail. And in like less extreme circumstances, it might be the case that you say, right, I want to lose 10 kilos of body weight this year, and then come March, you get a new job, you're now way less active, and you find it really difficult to lose weight. So the issue I've got is that it sets you up to fail. If there's an outcome that you're aiming for, it's pass or fail. Either you do it or you don't. And the second one is it's that achievable thing. Because whether or not a goal is achievable, first of all, depends on the time frame that you set. But secondly, whether or not a goal is achievable, it kind of depends on the day, right? Like, if I set a goal to say that I'm going to deadlift 300 kilos this year, is that achievable? It should be if everything goes to plan, but that's if everything goes to plan. What if I get injured in March? What if come July, it's that hot that I can't sleep for a month? Now it's not achievable anymore, even though in the abstract in January it was achievable. And so because of that, I think the SMART goal setting model has a place for like fairly advanced people who've done all of this shit before, and they're setting like a relatively small time frame. So for instance, I've got a client competing in a powerlifting competition on the 27th of this month, and she's got a kilo to drop. That is a SMART goal. I want to lose 1 kilo by the time it is my competition. Fine, we can do that. I know that's achievable for her. But when we're talking about longer term, or when we're talking about people who've never done this before, they have no idea whether losing 2 kilos a month is achievable. On paper, it should be, but maybe it isn't for you. And so because of that, I think SMART goals set people up for unrealistic expectations. I think people who don't have the understanding of how long fat loss can take, people who don't have the understanding of how long strength gains can take, people who don't have an understanding of if you want to build muscle, how long does that take? How much body fat are you going to accumulate during the time? And what is your body going to look like during that process of muscle gain? I think those people end up setting what seem like they would be smart goals, and they don't enjoy the process and they don't get what they want.
Yeah, and this is probably one of the biggest things, is that when you're setting smart goals, you're usually setting them off a base of either basing it off your past experiences, which isn't where you are now, and it doesn't bring into context the context of now. Because something I read in the book that I'm reading, which is really powerful, is that you can't have content without context. Like, the content is the smart goal, the content is the things that you're trying to do, but that means nothing without context with the environment. And I also learned from it that a lot of people just identify themselves as a person. This is who I am. But no, you are not independent. You are interdependent on your environment. Who you are around your family, you're different than who you are with your friends. In one environment, you're different from the other environment. Like, who you are is dependent on your context, your environment. But the one thing that should remain the same, which doesn't remain the same for so many people because they're so disconnected from themselves, is your core values, is your guiding compass. It is hard to it's hard to stay engaged with who you are and connected to who you are if you are so focused and you let your life be dictated by numbers and figures. And this is a really big part of what Tom said, because a lot of people say they don't know what weight to aim for. It's almost like a weight is the end of everything. And then people say, oh, I'm fine with the scale weight now. It's how I look, or it's my clothes. But that still poses an issue, and what's realistic there. And you don't see yourself as you are anyway. And you see yourself every day. And you are your own harshest critic. And it's like, in some aspect of the sense, you are comparing yourself to something, regardless of what it is. If you're saying that progress is too slow, or you're trying to get a certain speed of progress, it's like, where are you getting this from? We are mostly unaware of it, but where is it coming from? You have this expectation that things should happen yesterday. So then this is where smart goals fail, because number one, it has too much rigidity. Like Tom said, life isn't linear. And it's such a narrow emphasis focus that what if you need to take a detour? Are you just going to park your car while they have the roadworks going on and not get to where you want to go, because you don't even know how long those roadworks are going to be going on there? You need to find alternate paths. And something that I thought was really powerful in the book as well, a different book, is there's a difference between a path and a road. A road, you have a strict thing to follow. There is no other way around it. Regardless of what happens, it doesn't account for life happening. A path hasn't yet been established. You're creating your path as you go. It's forever winding. You might need to, like, you're creating your own path through the ground and all that kind of other stuff. And I guess it doesn't take into consideration your emotions. And your emotions can set you off a lot. And it's like, is what you're saying based truly on fact, or is an emotion coming into this that's misguiding your perception? Because you can say, no, it's fact. Is it really? Because your emotions can still be clouding that. Because everything that you see and everything you hear is based off the filter that your biases, your preconceived notions put you through. Got one more thing to add, and then I'll let you take it.
I'll just jump in on that, because
Sorry.
that was a really, really good point. And when it comes into goal setting, a big issue with goal setting is that people tend to set goals when they're really motivated. So a person will sit there feeling incredible, and it's like, right, this is what I'm going to achieve by this time. And that person sat there setting that goal is probably capable of that. But that person sat there setting that goal is not the same person as the same individual 2 days later who's just worked 3 really long shifts. Like, that's not how that pans out. And the issue that people have, I think, is that you need to cater for your low points. You need to set goals that factor in that sometimes you are going to be extremely tired or stressed or busy or limited on time. And so if you set a goal that seems reasonable, remember that you're probably setting a goal in the optimal position. A big issue with January goal setting and stuff that I see isn't that people set, oh, I set a New Year's resolution, and they don't mean it or anything. It's just literally, you set a New Year's resolution at a time when you haven't been at work for a week, and you've been spending loads of time with your friends and family, you've probably caught up on sleep, you've had a really good time. That person there, if you felt like that year round, you could probably achieve anything. But the issue is that as soon as you're halfway through that first week of January, where you're back at your desk, you've got to pick up all of those projects that you fobbed off in December, now the problems start arising. And I think that is just kind of a microcosm of a broader issue where, yeah, you need to set goals in accordance with not just you right now, but you at your lowest point. What is still going to be achievable for that person? Because if you can work that out, you're probably going to be a lot more successful.
Yeah, exactly the very point. That's why it's so important to go back to what I said with what is the minimum effective dose that you're going to allow, but also planning for that bad week. But the most important part of all of this is, okay, cool, you've set whatever goal it is. There is something in my throat, but where are you getting your information from on how to get there? A lot of people, for example, use calorie calculators, which are completely inaccurate. They don't know your history. They don't know so many things about you. And your metabolism is dynamic. Your height and your weight alone are not enough to dictate your calorie input. And so many people as well, they do macro splits, like 30% this, 20% that, 50% that. It's like that in itself is dumb as well. So it's like, where are you getting your information from? Because that will guide which path you take. And guess what? You might take a path that gets you super quick results, but then you struggle, you fall off track, you fall back to the beginning because you took the wrong path, even though it seems like the right one, because, oh my God, I'm getting fast progress. And I mentioned this example so many times before because it stands out to me. One of my clients was saying that her progress was slow. I'm like, what are you comparing that to? And what we came to the discovery was she was basing it on her past keto experience. She dropped the weight. She felt good. But it's like, what are you saying makes you feel good? Is it the fact that you're actually seeing weight go down? Do you actually feel good? So that's another thing, because when we look back in retrospect, it's like, I felt good. Did you really feel good? Because you don't remember context back then. It's construed. I mentioned this on some podcasts before. You would have listened to it because you've listened to my podcasts. But your perception of your memories is false. And going to the long-term mindset, so many people set smart goals in a short-term mindset, and that is only going to get you short-term results. But I want to give some examples of where a lot of this comes in, because it's a lot of women focus and overemphasize cardio. So that is one of the biggest. Well, actually, let's talk about how we can improve it first, and then we'll talk about the fallacies. Reframing your goals, which is something that Tom brought up before, which is something I want him to kind of emphasize very soon. And that's fixating solely on weight loss or appearance related goals. It's going to lead to you sabotaging yourself, taking emotional based decisions, or doing things that are not going to get you to your goal in the end run because of the unrealistic expectations. But thinking of instead performance-based goals, lifting heavier weights, improving your fitness and stamina in your workouts, being able to increase your training load, your training capacity, aiming to squat your body weight, deadlift your body weight if you haven't yet been able to do that, learning how to fix your squat form. There are so many different things that you can focus on. Like with some of my girls, it's bringing their periods back. It's getting them away from eating the chronic 1,300 calorie diets. It's getting them away from chronic back pain, chronic whatever pains they're experiencing. It's working them through there. But then it's like, okay, I'm feeling amazing. I want to see how much progress I made. Step on the scale. Now you feel like shit. Or take progress photos. Now you feel like shit. What is the purpose behind doing that? To make you feel like shit is doing that doing that progress metric serving you or not? And this is why I like to make sure that people have a good relationship with it first before I inflict it on them, or at least I butter them up for it. Because I know so many people are still so hard on themselves that it's not going to serve you any well. But I also know that my coach kind of forced me to do it. And I used to beat up on myself every single week because that was just the way they worked. It was that way or nothing. And I hated it because I was going through my I need to heal my body phase. I felt fat. I felt gross. I felt heavy. I complained every single day I needed to weigh in because he made me weigh in every single day. How fluffy and bloated and gross I felt. Like, I'm not immune to that. But this was back in like 2018. It's like, I've went through all those feelings. I understand it, which is why I'm so passionate about what I do. But I'm going to let you carry on that one before I go on about the rest.
I think you touched on an important thing there when you're talking about how you felt a little bit gross throughout the process. I've worked with a lot of women now who want to gain weight, and start again. I've worked with a lot of women who want to build muscle, and the problem that you have with that is, if you want to build muscle, you need to maintain a calorie surplus. And if you're going to maintain a calorie surplus, you are going to put on body fat. There are a lot of people who post online this idea that you can lean gain, that you can build muscle and not build fat. And as a complete beginner, yes. As a complete beginner, you can eat at maintenance and lift heavy weights and you'll drop body fat and you'll gain muscle. That will happen. And anyone who says that won't happen has never read a piece of research in their life, because it happens in every single fat loss paper where people lift weights. However, if you want to build like appreciable amounts of muscle, you need to get heavier. And for a lot of people, that can be a massive barrier. We've had a lot of messaging. I don't know what it's like in Australia. I can imagine it's the same. We've had a lot of messaging in the UK over the years, especially in my view from like the late 80s through to like the 2000s, about how especially women should be smaller. We had the size zero thing. We had the thigh gap thing. We had all of that. Britney Spears is really fat when she looked like completely normal. Like, all of that messaging was put out all of the time. And so there are a lot of women who are very, very, very scared of gaining body fat. And this holds them back massively from building muscle. And I'm not saying that men aren't affected, but it certainly seems to be less. And I think when you set a goal of muscle gain, you need to consider that, because if at the outset you're saying, right, I want to build muscle, I want to get my deadlift up to whatever, if that doesn't include in your mind, I might have to buy a slightly greater size of jeans for a while, it's going to be a really difficult process for you. So just sort of be aware of all of the little ins and outs of those things if muscle building, if anything like that is your goal, because that fat gain it's literally unavoidable unless you're going to use steroids, which is how a lot of people do it on Instagram, that and just clever photo posting. So I used to talk to an influencer back in the day when I used to work, I worked for a company and we did like expos and stuff. And there was I'm not going to name her, but there was a specific influencer that I used to talk to quite regularly. And what she would do is she would do a diet and she would do like 4 photo shoots in different clothing in different areas. And then she would bulk for a while and just drip feed those posts throughout the year. And then she would just start posting. Then she would start dieting again, and then she would do a new photo shoot. So it looked like she was shredded all the time and just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But it's just simply she wasn't posting her off-season photos. And this wasn't like a massive bodybuilder. This was someone where you look at their photos and it's like, oh, she just looks really fit. But yeah, like it's not done without fat gain, and you can't avoid that.
And the thing is, physical, I don't know how many times I say this. Physical results are a lagging indicator no matter what you do. And just because you're working your ass off does not entitle you to results. It's like my mantra now. You can work your butt off. But number one, is it smart? If you have a coach, then yes, it will be smart if you're actually listening to what they're saying and fully invested into the process and not pulling out the seeds all the time. But yes, okay, you're doing the smart things, but you can be doing all the right things and things can still take a really freaking long time to work. And your body is once again dynamic. You don't know the other external things happening. Are you under high stress? Oh, here's another thing that a lot of people forget when they're making their SMART goals. How is your sleep? Because that impacts so many things. How is your recovery? It's like we forget these little elements that allow us to make the progress forward. Because I know that I feel like rat's ass, I'm going to want to eat more. I'm going to want to move less. I'm going to be less motivated when my sleep is poor. So that's not going to really lead to 10 to favorable outcomes anyway. But like Tom was saying, which I am in love with this I'm in love with this podcast now because I've wanted someone else to say it for so freaking long. You are going to have to accept some fat gain in the process of building muscle. And if body recomp is the goal and you can build on maintenance, which is what I try to get a lot of my newer lifters to do, or those that haven't been at it for a long time, or they haven't trained specifically for a long time, is I do put them on maintenance and I try to make sure they're pushing themselves really hard in the gym so we can see some physical results, because you will be able to. But the thing is, if body recomposition is the overall goal, you're not really going to see that much change week to week, let alone month to month, because you are literally just trying to lose muscle and lose fat and build muscle at the same time. Like, that process is going to be slow. But what's the alternative? Go into a surplus and build muscle a little bit faster and get more uncomfortable when you're already really uncomfortable with your body. But at the same time, it's like you're not in a place to go into a diet, because most women come to me when they've been trying to diet their whole life, or they come to me on like 1,300, 1,500 calories. I'm not going to diet someone who's been on 1,500 calories, because where am I going to take you from there? 1,200? Like, it's unsustainable. You need to be able to build yourself up and build up a foundation and build up your quote unquote metabolism. Learn to be someone that moves more. I haven't yet had someone come to me, except one person who's an obsessive exerciser, but that's a different story. Aside from her, I've never had someone come to me with already hitting 8 to 10,000 steps. Hardly ever. Unless they're already someone that's been in it for a really long time. Not a single new person has come to me with that, or even someone on a layout. And that makes a huge difference. There are so many things that can set you up. Like, you need to reverse to move forward. You need to go backwards to move forward sometimes. And one of my friends said something powerful to me, and I love it. It's like, sometimes you need to gain weight to lose weight. Sometimes you need to allow yourself to build the muscle. And this is why I hate saying gain weight. This is why I hate
100%. 100%. And like the thing that you said there about if someone is looking to recomposition, it's going to be super slow. I don't think you can overstate that. Like, there are a lot of people who have been dieting for a really, really long time and they're on super low calories. And all that is they have been dieting that long that they no longer believe that the diet's going to work. So when they do think, oh, I wouldn't mind having a takeaway, they just have it and then they forget they have it. This is always the case. That is the type of person that should probably eat at maintenance for a while. And while they're eating at maintenance, they should learn to lift heavy weights or do something that they enjoy that's physical, and get really good at that. And what you'll find is that while they're eating maintenance, they'll drop a little bit of body fat, they'll build a little bit of muscle, they'll also start to feel a little bit more confident, because we're going away from this period where they've just been failure after failure after failure in their diet. And now, oh, actually, I'm making progress in the gym, or I'm making progress on the track, or I'm making progress in the pool, and I'm feeling way better. And now we can drop your calories a little bit, and suddenly the fat loss starts working. But during that period of maintenance, you won't notice a difference on the scales, because that's what maintenance means. So that's where you need to really focus on these athletic performance metrics. Are you getting faster, stronger, better at something? And by consistently reinforcing that with people, I've found over time that for chronic dieters, this is easily the most effective way that I've found for helping them lose fat over a longer period of time. And it seems really counterintuitive, which is why people are scared of doing it. But I cannot stress enough how good of a process that is in my experience.
And one thing is, when people say that they don't care about the scales, blah, 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 still, because I try to enforce that in people, it's still the same concept inside your body. You're not going to see that much changes. Just because the scale's taken out of the picture does not mean that your body is going to change dramatically month to month either. Shit doesn't work that fast. Like, okay, I can't really remember where I got. See, I don't even know. I honestly don't know, because to me, I'm thinking back to when I thought the very same things. I don't know where the belief came from. I really don't. I think it's just because I was like, something I realized is I was just comparing myself to, well, I wasn't even comparing myself. It's just like, I know I want that body, or whatever I'm seeing in front of me. It's like, I want that. And not realizing that, just like Tom said, they didn't post all the other stuff. And that's where most people are now. They're seeing me where I am now. They're seeing other ripped people well, I'm not even ripped, but like someone, there's the, like, you're seeing people who are fit, like me, that's a better way to say it, other fit people online and saying, I like, but it's easy for you to say you're fit. You're okay, but you didn't see the phases before that. And then when I post my skinny self, okay, well, I didn't go from skinny to lean-ish and muscle-ly. I didn't go from there to there. Like, what about the in between? I was at least 6 kilos heavier in between where I am now and where I, well, actually, from where I started to where I am now, considerably from me to where I actually started, I'm 15 kilos heavier from when I started lifting in the gym. So, and that's the thing, because 15 kilo lighter me was maintaining on 1,300 calories. And that was still with a lot of movement, and that was still with my training. That was like, I don't even know, to be honest, because I wasn't really tracking my food then. I didn't really care. I was just trying to build muscle, which is a completely different way than how other people come into it. It's like I actually wanted to gain weight then because I had a great mindset. And this is the other thing, you can come into it with a great mindset, but then I got tainted and spoiled. While finally, because I wasn't exposed to the social media industry, I wasn't exposed to everything until I got into it. And then I got exposed to it, and then I got spoilt, tainted, and disillusioned into other warpery to get to where I am now. But yeah, I guess that, and if you don't prioritize your mental health, you have nothing, because that's going to be the biggest thing that hinders your progress. And it can be the biggest thing that hinders your gut health, your digestion, your stress. Because when you're stressed out, when your mental health isn't good, when your relationship with food isn't good, that's going to change your results and progress and rate of progress and sabotage. It's, yeah, I think I covered everything I wanted to say. Did you want to add anything else onto that?
Just, I think it's, well, so people joke about this all the time. It's like, oh, I trained abs twice this week. I better have a six-pack on Monday. And like, everybody understands that's a joke, but the sentiment underneath it, I think, is a justifiable one. Like, when you're trying to get fit, when you're trying to improve your physical condition, like, you train so hard, and then you look in the mirror and you just look the fucking same for ages. And so this is again why I just think it's really important for people to start looking at like their gym numbers, or, as I talk about all the time, have other hobbies as well, because you're going to go to the gym, you're going to train legs really hard, you're going to have sore legs for a while, and then you're going to train legs again, and they're going to be really sore, and then you're going to wake up the following Monday and you're going to look the same. And so if you've got nothing else that you care about other than your legs getting big, you're going to get impatient, because it takes bastard ages. So get other hobbies and pay attention to what's going in your gym logs, because if you've added 10 kilos to your squat and you're also getting better at guitar, or enjoying playing games, or spending time with people, whatever you want to do, then you can tolerate how long it takes a lot better than you can if this is all you think about. And I actually think, because I've spoken with a lot of people who start out their fitness journey looking at bodybuilding. And what I tend to find is that people who do bodybuilding, or who start off doing bodybuilding, it's all they think about. It's like, right, bodybuilding is my lifestyle. And they go to the gym and they come away from the gym and they watch videos about going to the gym, and they look at memes about going to the gym, and they follow fitness influencers, and everything's about the gym and everything's about the gym. And at that point, it's not surprising that these people get impatient and start using gear. And I think if more people who took up bodybuilding had something else and didn't think of bodybuilding as this like lifestyle, we wouldn't have so many people who are literally just recreational exercisers who are cocking up their endocrine system by using shitloads of steroids in their 20s.
Yeah, that's really true. And as soon as you said the abs thing, I'm like, yeah, that's true. But then I'm like, ha, I do that every single time I feel a booty pump. I check the mirror and I'm like, fuck you, you haven't grown. But this is the exact same example I say.
We all do it. Like, we all do it. Like, I'll go to the gym, I'll have a really good leg session. I'm like, yeah, that's worked. And I'll wake up the next day and I'm like, nope, same.
See, I wake up the next day with bigger legs because they're full of glycogen. But then come the next day, I'm like, yeah.
But then you look at pictures from last year and it's like, oh, my legs are a bit bigger. And then if you do that for 10 years, oh, my legs are loads bigger. And that's how it has to be. That's as fast as it's ever going to be. So you better find something else to pay attention to in the meantime.
It also depends on where you are right now, because I look at photos of me in the past. I'm like, yeah, my legs aren't any bigger than that, but they're getting there. Like, but that's also because that's the thing. A lot of things happen between A and B, and if I had such rigid SMART goals, I would feel like ass. But I had a lot of things come up this year, and I lost a shit ton of muscle over lockdown. It's like no one predicted lockdown was going to happen. What was I going to like? So many different things come in the process. You need to be so realistic, so patient, and realize you're doing this for life. And the more that you can make it an identity, and the more that you can be flexible, flow, like you want to think of rigid flexibility. You can't be rigid without the flexibility, but you can't just be flexible, because then you have no constraints, and then you'll be all over the place and confused and like a vagabond. But you can't be rigid, because then you're going to break and snap. You need to be a blend of the two.
Yeah, no, I like that. Because as you say, rigidity doesn't work unless you've got a very, very specific personality. And if you had that personality, you wouldn't be listening to this, because that kind of person doesn't listen to podcasts. If you had like a super specific personality where you can just robotically do, that is the type of person that can be very successful in the gym for like a really long time. Though they tend to be also quite lonely and bored, because they don't have any friends, because they don't have time for it.
That's why I don't like
everyone else needs some degree of flexibility. But as you say, you can't go too far. We live in an obesogenic environment, in a society in which exercise is not actively but passively discouraged. Fewer places to go and be active, being active getting more and more expensive, etc., etc., etc. It might be different in Australia, in fairness, because you have like a nice sea to go in. Like you can go to beaches and shit and be active. Whereas here, it's like it's in the winter, not even in the winter, right? So between the months of like late September and like late April, during that time, in England, well, especially northern England where I live, we have very little sunlight. It's wet and dark all the time. And like the only time when it's light during the day is when everyone's at work. Like, unless you very intentionally go to the gym, you are going to be inactive. And even going to the gym, it's a bit of like a, ugh, fine, I'm going to get up really early in the dark and go to the gym in the cold and the dark. And I'm going to train and I'm going to leave in the dark and it's raining. And like, in that kind of environment, you do need some strictness. You do need some rigidity, because the easiest thing to do is not the healthiest thing to do. So yeah, there's a balance to strike, and I think in discussions of flexibility, which are all very, very positive, we need to remember that you do need to have some rigidity as well. Otherwise, we forget that actually, yeah, like if you exercise regularly, you are exceptional, and we need to acknowledge that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so many. It's I want to end this with saying this, because it's so true, and that's the fact that of course you feel like mediocre, because the people you follow are freaking amazing, and they already are doing the things that you want to do, because that's kind of why you follow them. They're inspiring you in some way. And it's almost like when I was doing my powerlifting, I was following people lifting freaking like 100 kilos, 200 kilos. I'm like, I'm so weak. Why am I like this? Why am I like? And then I used to complain to coach, like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And then it's almost like I was lifting freaking 160 kilos and feeling like a weak freaking donkey ass, because I was comparing myself to someone doing double me, probably double the size of me. It's like, like, I know a lot of people do compare themselves to other people. A lot of people don't. But it's all one and the same. It's like, where are your expectations coming from? Because if you go out to the general shopping market, you are probably the fittest one there. So I know it's just like, but this is also, I'm going to end this here with my spiel, because yeah, it's almost like, yeah, but I don't care about that, because I want to be the best at what I do. Setting the high standards again, but you can go back to our last podcast for that. But it's just like giving it context to where we place ourselves in this whole context of things. It's like you are doing the thing right now, trying to improve yourself. So you're going to get to where you want to be regardless of what you're doing, because you're doing the things. The only way to fail is to either give up or to keep trying to focus on the outcome that you never actually get there because you're not doing the things consistently in the right order at the right time because you're too desperate to get to the end destination.
100%. 100%.
Tied off.
It has to be you comparing yourself to where you were previously. It has to be that, right? So just to give an example, I had a few clients doing their first strength competition last year, and one of them, Kim, won her first ever competition, and everyone agrees Kim did absolutely phenomenally. She did fantastically, and she won. Okay, if there were 3 freaks turned up, and by freaks I mean that in the nicest way possible, there are some freaks out there. If 3 freaks turned up and they battered Kim's deadlifts by 70 kilos, has Kim done any worse just because she didn't medal? No, she did exactly as well as she did when she won. And so in any competition, in any realm of fitness, you have to compare your results to your previous results. And even then, like, if your previous results were 2 years and a child ago, it's probably not fair to do that comparison. But you need to compare what you're doing against what you're doing because you cannot control the performance of the people around you. So just focus on what you're doing and you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so happy you brought up the child and the person, but I think that ties us up nicely.
Yeah.
And if this helped you in any way, please let us know, and let us know if you liked this anti-wank for this week. And if you have any more wanks that you want us to anti, let us know, and we will anti them up and butter them up with some accents and goodness. And let's not dip it in some milk with Tim Tams because that would be a disaster. Because yeah. Anyway, love you all and let us know. Yeah. Yep. Are you gonna try Tim Tam? Are you gonna try Tim Tam?
I'll buy some Tim Tams on Amazon. Hold on. Can I buy Tim Tams on Amazon? And then I'm absolutely going to have to take this dog out. Not that he's itching to go out or nothing. He's literally asleep on the floor. But oh, there we go. What flavor of Tim Tams should I get?
I haven't had Tim Tams since high school, but I would probably say
original, chewy caramel, or double coat are the ones I can see.
Probably get the original. Caramel is disgusting. Well, that's just my opinion of caramel.
Add to basket.
Tom will let us know on the next podcast what he thinks of Tim Tams.
I'll spend 6.9 Great British pounds on some Tim Tams. I'll tell you, they're good.
Let's see. Tom will let us know, and maybe you could let us know your favorite flavor. I don't even know the flavors, but if you're a fan of caramel, please let me know because I reckon caramel just ruins the flavor of any chocolate. It's too sweet, too over empowering. But yeah, love you all and have an amazing rest of February.
Cheers, y'all.